Some time ago, I shared that I'd been thinking of deactivating my Facebook account for my own mental health during what I anticipated would be a crazy season as Guyana prepares for elections on September 1st. My final decision was essentially to remain active and try to be helpful while being safe. I had been meaning to share thoughts on a few things, but had been too consumed by work demands. Now I am taking some time, and I have had the benefit of observing the run-up to elections and noted the issues which have emerged. So let's talk about online disinhibition effect. Have you found that people you interact with online are a bit more unhinged than those you meet in person? Or maybe you noticed that the posts from someone you know personally are seeming to be out of character based on your knowledge of them. These may be due to the online disinhibition effect. Let me explain what I now understand about this online disinhibition effect. Essentially, think of this meeting. You, someone of small stature, meet someone of a significantly larger stature. As you approach them, do you size them up, or are you intimidated by their structure? I generally don't think of myself as someone who is in any way a bully or uh, someone who might it should be intimidating, someone who others should be scared of. But I oftentimes find that when I'm interacting with people, it seems to me that they are seeing me in that way. Usually persons who are smaller than I am. And I'm not big, I'm just 6 feet tall. Few extra pounds, but just 6 feet tall. Essentially, the reaction that people, a small person has when they interact with someone who seems more intimidating, and it doesn't necessarily has to be on size, reflects that they are inhibited by that interaction, or in that interaction, perhaps better put. So essentially, what we see in that, and I would say is one of the extremes, when you have a significant, what I would call a power differential. Um, you can have the person with lesser power in the physical sense, the smaller person, uh, being inhibited more in their behavior. But it, like I said, it doesn't have to be a physical thing. Matter of fact, most of the time it's not a physical thing. And even if they are similar or no significant power differential, what you see is that people are still inhibited when they interact face to face. So that simply means that you don't tell people certain things to their face. And that's why I find when psychologists describe this inhibition. So in when we interact in person, we are inhibited in our interactions. And what they found is that when people go online, that they are disinhibited, which means then that that inhibition we may naturally have that controls the way we interact with people face to face is reduced or removed, and our interactions become more free. Now, that freeness could be something positive in that we are more open, we share more, we talk more about emotions, we talk more about things that we wouldn't tell anybody face to face. But it also can lead to something that is very toxic, something that is very negative, because you can also be rude. You can see people emerging, and this is where we see in the online environment, where we see things like trolling. I'll put a video or two at the end of this one, a link to it on YouTube once it works out, that will give you a deeper kind of psychological breakdown of what this online disinhibition effect is. But I hope that what I just said gives you insight as to what is it we're talking about. All right. Essentially, what we're seeing is that people online, when they interact online, they can tend to be a bit more unhinged. This is on the negative side. And that's the side I want to focus on because that's where the danger is. The positive bits of it is all good and fine. Back in 2021, when I first wrote on this subject, I'd been motivated by an experience I had while interacting with someone I knew personally. It caused me to do a bit of research to understand the behavior I was observing. Back then, I came across a paper published March 2012 in Computers in Human Behavior, and it was titled Effects of Anonymity, Invisibility, and Lack of Eye Contact on Toxic Online Disinhibition. Many who have addressed this issue of online disinhibition have referred to the feeling of anonymity as a major contributing factor to this behavior. But I've always wondered, how does that apply when you know the person and they know you? How could a feeling of anonymity still exist under such conditions? If you check out the other videos I mentioned I put at the end of this one, you will notice that there are a few other factors at play, even where anonymity is impossible, or I should say, true anonymity is impossible. That paper from 2012 shared an interesting insight that it's the lack of eye contact that was the major contributor to toxic online disinhibition. The authors wrote, the results suggested that of the three independent variables, lack of eye contact was the chief contributor to the negative effects of online disinhibition, which means that even when two people know each other, one or both may be disinhibited in an online setting like social media and seek to bully, troll, harass, or otherwise act negatively towards the other, mainly because they are not looking the other in the eye. There are other things at play, as I mentioned, and one is likely pack behavior. Many people behave badly when they are surrounded by their pack and would even look you in the eye and say the most horrid things. This is likely why bullies seek a following, but take away their pack and they are far less inclined to such behavior. So when people meet in a space online where they are supported by others, whatever they say is backed up by a few comments to support them, they find themselves a pack and their behavior can get worse. Further, it is well known that strong emotions inhibit rationality, such that when we become overly emotional, we are literally removing our ability to think straight. Add this lack of rationality to online disinhibition, and you will likely find that the toxicity of the behavior increases. So, what should you do? You should recognize that many of the toxic behaviors you observe online come from uninhibited persons. Persons who would behave very differently in a different setting. Just as it makes no sense to try to reason with an uninhibited drunk, it also makes no sense to try to reason with persons whose rationality is inhibited by strong emotions and who is likely disinhibited by the online environment. So don't engage, don't react. It's important, perhaps particularly in this season, that we observe how others rather are behaving and take a moment, pause before you react to them. Consider, particularly if you know that person, but even if you don't know that person, consider that what you may be observing with them might be purely the product of the environment within which you are interacting with them. And ensure that you yourself don't you are not rather disinhibited in that environment. And sometimes it's better just to not react, not respond. Sometimes, perhaps for your mental health, better not to even read.